take a seat? Please find your seats. Did you tell you can't use your laptop after?
Yeah, I'm going to unplug it. I'm just going to do this and then unplug it.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Mine's up first.
Yeah, put him in it. Yep, we're good. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unlocking the Power of Generative AI. I'm Anne, one of the organisers and your host this evening. Today, this event is all about hearing from people in our community, right? People who are doing different things, right? Might be doing something really special. So I'm just going to let it get started. But first of all, I wanted to call up the guru, yes, he told me to say that, Dr. George Vossos, to give us an update on the European continent.
Thanks, Anne. What do I do with this? Just put it in. Thanks, Anne. And no, I didn't tell you that I'm the guru, but anyway. Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's really nice to see. Usually this little meetup, we get this really good blend of business people, technical people, some newbies, some graduates. So it's it's really a good, healthy kind of environment that we create here. I said to the guys before that came in a little bit early that we try and make this as interactive as we can because it's there to provide you with the information, okay? So please, as either myself or any of the speakers that have come through, if there's something of interest, just interject, right? And let's discuss it. So that's kind of how we've run all the meetups. So that's kind of what I want to continue to do because it's there to serve you, not the speakers, okay? Yeah, thank you to Anne for co-presenting with me. I know you've been a little bit unwell, but you're back kicking away, which is really good. Special thanks to Bo and Samuel for putting all of the communication stuff together. So these guys work pretty hard to get all this sort of stuff going. Just for reference, everything that we do gets live streamed. We do have a YouTube channel, so you can always go back and have a look at the presentations. I know, are we live? Like, do we actually have a live stream as well? Okay, so at some point I might publish that so people can actually get on board. That's becoming more important for us because I'm going to give a little bit of an update on what's been happening in Europe. I've just returned back from Europe and there's genuine interest in what we do, but I'm also genuinely interested to see what the Europeans are doing because they're doing some great things as well. So what I wanted to do, I'll probably take about 10 minutes or so. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on what's happening in Europe. And then what I typically do is I just try, I've got a board here and I kind of pick some of the topics and we have a bit of a chat, okay, interactive chat. So I'll be very quick with the update and then I'll get you to just have a look what's on my board. If you want me, I can zoom it in. Just tell me a topic that's on my board and we can have a bit of a chat about it because this is kind of what I'm finding very fascinating at the moment and hopefully you sort of also find it a bit fascinating. Okay, so an update from Europe. So a lot of my friends have, they think I've disowned them. I haven't been in the country for a long time. And the reason for that is because I'm just finding that there is a lot of good stuff happening around AI in Europe, which I'm not necessarily seeing here in Australia. So a few things I'm going to say mightn't resonate very well with people, but it's my reflection of what I'm seeing. So what am I seeing? What I'm seeing is there's a bigger aptitude for AI in Europe. I'm seeing that a lot of the business people, not the technical people, are making it their business to educate themselves and learn about what's happening in AI. And we kind of know that AI is just changing minute by minute. And I was just sort of amazed how they're sort of getting onto that. I get into workshops or I get into meetings with executives, and what I find is that whereas here in Australia I'm actually starting from ground zero, like what is AI, what's GenAI, what's an agent, what's a agentic. Over there they're telling me to hurry up. Yes, okay, let's move on to the next POC. So there's certainly a lot more competency in AI, so that's a credit to them. And we've got a long way to sort of go. So it reinforces why I hold this meetup and why the organisers hold this meetup. Because we need to educate ourselves first so we can get into our corporate world and start educating everybody else. Because we are slipping behind. So if you have a look at what's happening in China, if you have a look at what's happening in the US, you have a look at what's happening in Europe, guess where Australia is in that, on that curve? Not doing too well. Okay, so if anything, it's made me more energized to come back and actually start spreading the gospel a little bit more, hopefully transfer that knowledge to people like yourselves to be able to go in and actually educate. But then hopefully I've got some developers in the room. So where are my developers? Who's actually on the tools? Who's doing AI? Right? Okay, so we're also here to push boundaries with that as well. So people that have been to this meetup previously will understand that we also look at code here too. Right, we're not scared of code, we can go and have a look at code. Okay, so that's my general observation. If I was to rank the European countries in terms of their aptitudes for AI, how would I rank them? France is number one. Anything crazy good, innovative is all coming out of France. The best AI is all coming out of France, and the only state in the continent that's actually built an LLM, right? So they're doing some really, really good stuff, and I was very excited to go to the labs there and chat to some of the young people that are doing some crazy things. So they're probably ahead of the curve. The one that blew me away, and I think the Europeans are actually acknowledging them as being at the forefront of AI and change, and actually almost going to the extent of mandating AI into the corporate world. You'll never believe this because I never believed it. Poland. Crazy. Absolutely crazy what they're doing. So the consulting company that I run, which is Evoke AI, most of our opportunities are all coming out of Poland at the moment, which explains why I've been overseas for a while. Okay, so they're doing some very, very good things. So why? Why are we so behind? So why are we behind? I think we're behind because we, unlike you guys that are here, you're here, you know, on your own time. No one's forced you to be here. You're making it your business to learn. I don't think there's enough of us here. I think people are very lazy. I think people, you know, just get too complacent. They love their safety zones, and they operate in those safety zones. You know what I mean? And they just, ignorance is bliss. But guess what? We live in a global world. That's not going to get us anywhere. Okay, so we need more people like us. So we need to hopefully inspire other people to sort of, you know, start doing what we're doing. Any questions? Anyone anyone want to ask me anything about Europe? I didn't get to Mistral, but I know, as I said, you know, the Parisians, they're smashing it right now. So yeah, it's there. So where I was working from, which is WeWorks, there's got a few WeWorks in Paris. The Mistral guys were kind of like about 2 blocks down, and they wanted me to go visit, but I ran out of time. So that was a pity. But they're doing some wonderful things, absolutely. Any other questions before we finish Europe? Yep. Okay, very good question. So I will give you, again, in keeping with the theme of my little sort of spiel, I'll give you the difference between a European and an Australian, right? The Europeans have actually mandated that any government project or any commercial project over a certain amount of money has to have AI component as part of the project. So it needs to have AI oversight, mandated in European EU legislation. In Australia, let me give you the contrast. Our wiseful government has decided that social media needs to be banned from under 16 years old, and the legislation that they're working on is what I call restrictive. It's really trying to control rather than promote and educate and springboard off. That's the contrast. That's what I see. Good question. Okay, that's a little bit of a... Oh, one more question on Europe. Yep.
You went to Europe.
Yes, I did, yes.
What was the attitude?
Okay, so I went to Germany. So I visited Berlin, Munich, Heidelberg, and one other city. What I saw was that the Germans are probably definitely not. I need to say this politically correct way. So I think that, okay, this is the best way to put it. I'm finding that the Central Europeans, I'm not going to pick on the Germans, the Central Europeans are starting to understand that if they're not a little bit more flexible and adaptable and more focused on where the industry needs to go, they could find themselves in a lot of trouble. So a lot of this conservatism around certain concepts, I felt there's a genuine push to try and sort of be a little bit more balanced about it, whereas we're not here. You know what I mean? So they're some way in between, a France and an Australia, if you know what I mean. Yeah, they do understand they've got to be a little bit more adaptable. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Very good question. So, yeah. So how are they doing it? The opposite of how we do it. So what they do is they have the European Commission has invested all this money inside the EU to create the world's best data centres, the world's best everything. And what they've done is they've picked 5 hubs in Europe. Czech Republic is one of those, and that's where I was. And I think there's one in Poland and there's another 3 more. So to answer your question, look, there is definitely an awareness to respect people's property and privacy. There's all of those very beautiful underlying themes, like the Europeans, I think, are champions at that. But it's now sort of, it's got a little bit of a practical overlay on it because of the geopolitical situation, they can't find themselves slipping behind China and America and everybody else. They realise that, so they're becoming a little bit more pragmatic, and it sort of goes to the question you asked me. So yes, they're respectful, but they're also understanding that they've got to plug into a bigger global economy, and they've got to compete. Yeah. I will take 2 more questions and that's it, and then we'll get to the board. Yes. So how does, okay. So clearly the US is a leader in tech. Clearly they've championed pretty much all the innovation. China's obviously caught up, and some would argue are doing better in a lot of ways with some of this new tech. But there's no question, designed in the US. It could be built somewhere else, but it's designed in the US. So the innovation is still there. I think the current government is obviously trying to play that to their advantage. Not sure, we don't all have to agree with what Mr. Trump's doing, but he's clearly wanting to keep that sort of first prize. Personally, I see a lot more vision in the US than anywhere else because, for example, they're diversifying into crypto, they're diversifying into, all of the technology regarding quantum and things like that. So, man, you still can't compete with the US. And if you want proof of that, see what happened in Iran 3-4 weeks ago. Like, everyone just didn't know what to say. Like, their tech is like pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, there's been a geopolitical event that happened there. Don't worry about that comment. Okay, so last question. Yeah, so that's a good question. I think one of the most fortunate things about where we find ourselves today from a workforce point of view is that we're all mobile workers. And if you're a knowledge worker, that's not really a problem. Like, you know, these geographical boundaries are not there. Like, for example, my company of OKI works in Czech Republic. Operates here, operates there. Like, you don't care. These things are no. These are gone. These barriers are gone. Yeah. So what will typically happen with large organisations is clearly there's an induction program. So if you're at the sort of development stage, design development stage, there'll be an induction for that. Clearly, once you productionize and once you start operationalizing, that's a different set of concerns. So yeah, just got to be careful which side of the fence you are, because yes, operating, you know, DevOps, all those sorts of things are very different to designing, creating. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's just have a quick look at this board. I'm not sure if you guys can see it well, but can someone just sort of maybe home in on one of these little topics I've got here? We can maybe, how much more time have I got? I'm done. All right, maybe one topic. Pick a topic. Pick a topic. Okay, so I'll just pick the first one, okay? So who's heard about this context engineering versus vibe coding? Yeah, and I know one of our friends here is going to be sort of touching on that tonight. Is everybody clear about what that distinction is? So this one is for our tech people here. So is everyone clear on the distinction between vibe coding and this new thing called context engineering? Okay. All right. So I might be corrected. I'm going to give it a go, and if you want to come over the top of me, you can. Okay, so this is my understanding of the two, right? So anybody here who is, okay, so hands up, who codes? Who codes? Okay, who codes without one of these copilots? Tell me nobody codes here without a copilot, right? Cool, all right, so you're usually using Cursor, you're using, what is it, Surfboard? What's that other one? Windsurf, yeah, which has just been acquired by OpenAI, I think. Yeah, so we're all using these assistants, okay? And how frustrating is it, right? You know, you're there, you're prompting, yeah, it's doing stuff, but it loses, it's got no memory, you know, it loses the threads, it doesn't remember, it mucks up your code, and you have all sorts of problems. So you can actually really waste a lot of time with what is traditionally called the vibe coding. So what I understand the difference to be with the context engineering is that you start behaving a little bit more like a professional, right? You're not a juvenile anymore. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit there and you're going to say, you know what? There's nothing I'm going to give this AI agent coding thing. I'm not going to just let it do its own thing. I'm not going to let it run rogue anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a spec. I'm going to give it some reference material. I'm going to be, you know, very, very specific in terms of, you know, APIs. There's context that I'm going to give it, okay? So what you do is you equip it to act a little bit more in context of what you're doing. So you might have to give it a little bit more about your domain. You might have to, there's a lot of things that you've got to prep for and think through before you start asking it anything. And that's what I find is the biggest difference. But if you speak to my friend Joe here, he'll tell you there's another 20 things that it does, including MCP servers and I don't know, too many things for me. But I'm sure he'll be able to elaborate a little bit later. So that's the big thing. So everybody's saying, look, you know, anyone that's really experienced, and it's interesting because you have a lot of these CEOs say that no code's ever going to be written by a human anymore, the machine's doing it. It's true the machine's doing it. There's no doubt about it. In fact, if it's not doing it, you know, I don't know what you're doing. But the big difference is how you direct it, how you orchestrate, how you, as a PM, get it to do the right thing. And in the context of what you're building, in the context of, you know, how you're coding, your principles, your standards, your interfaces, whatever it is. So you give it that context, then you go. So it's what I see as the evolution of vibe coding. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. I'm going to shut up now because I know I'm over time, and I'm going to hand back over to Anne. I hope that made some sense to some people, and I'll hand back to Anne. Thank you.
can I get this thing on? Yes, I can get it on. Okay, so this evening we have 3 really inspiring chats. And I'm going to call them chats. I'm not going to say they're talks, because talking at you, no, they're chats, right? As George said, we want some people involvement. So I'm going to ask John to come up, and he's going to present, and this is an interesting title for this, and yeah. No, John. That was George's. Yeah. He's got an interesting title, and he kind of needs to explain it. Moats for the AI era. So if you do not know John, he's a strategist, flat out helping major Australian companies. He's probably educated over 12,000 odd people in this space already and climbing. Basically, we know him here as our guru for AI strategy. So I want to introduce John to everyone. You need that, sorry, because the live stream won't hear you otherwise.
Oh, okay. All right. I got my own company, and I run currently, so we have shifted from building agentic workflows to, the problem right now in Australia is that, as you've heard, we have an extremely uneducated, especially leadership, in pretty much all companies. The large organizations have already started quite early because they have to, because they went to the US, they got scared. They started to release more and more AI. So in large organizations, especially tech and banks, you can see, not all banks, but sort of 2 out of the 4 at least, they started moving early on. We can clearly see that right now there is a large awakening, sort of mid to small companies, maybe not so much, only the ones that are techie or sort of they're waking up now. But medium companies are kind of waking up now. They're all starting to realize AI is real. They need to start doing something about it. They need education. They have like 1 or 2 leadership persons on the top that are sort of a little bit AI savvy and sort of understood what's happening. And so we are getting bombarded with clients that are wanting to do what we currently do, which is AI capability uplift programs for companies. And we basically go in and say, we are your strategic partner with your AI adoption strategies, with your education pieces, bringing automation into your sort of function, and we looking at your processes. So we do process mining. We look at, do these processes that you currently have in the age of AI, do they make any sense? No, they don't make sense. So therefore, we need to change them. We need to educate people. And so we're running currently with a whole bunch of companies, sort of a bit staggered, these AI capability uplift programs. And over the last, especially a couple of months, it has become very clear that certain modes won't last. And one of these modes is, so there's 3 sort of groups. One is you as an individual, one is an enterprise, and one is agencies. And agencies right now have like 1 mode and 1 mode only, which is like when it comes to AI, which is going to clients and selling custom solutions, custom builds. That mode won't last very long, or it will change very dramatically, because these AI models are becoming really, really good at non-technical people becoming really proficient in building extremely production-ready tools, not right now, but over the next 2 years. So that mode is going to change, if not disappear. On the personal sort of level, it needs to be education. everyone needs to be educated about this AI stuff. You basically have three main sort of buckets of skills going forward. One is your subject matter expertise, no matter what you do, if you're an engineer or a PM or an analyst. One is your AI savviness, and the other is AI savviness. Sorry, your AI literacy, basically, and your agent management skills. These are sort of the three main ones. So super quickly, Google and OpenAI have in 2023 brought out a sort of roadmap that they think where all this AI stuff is heading. So far, they have come true, and we're actually exceeding it by 6 months. One is chatbots in 2023, reasoning models in 2024, agents in 2025, and we are like right into that. Then the AI researchers coming out already now. We know that OpenAI has one for $20,000 a month. They're coming all really prolific going forward. We know that GPT-5 is them just sort of have understood that coding is like one of the most important things, because it's going to be all about building large language models going forward that are building tools in the background to answer a question or to solve a problem. So that's what Claude is doing, and OpenAI is trying to catch up with GPT-5, basically. The model routing has just changed. So in GPT-5, the model routing has just changed the prompt engineering architectures that need to be used. We're currently teaching it for a couple of clients. Okay, so we have agents this year. Next year is the research agent, 2026, 2027, you have the agent that builds at a scale of entire organizations. And shortly after that, you get AGI, and then ASI is like 1 or 2 years after that. So we know that self-improving AI is a thing. We just had AlphaVolve from Google come out. We just had a few models from OpenAI come out that are showing first signs of writing their own code. So the self-improving world and AI is basically sort of the thing. So this was the agency custom automation, domain-specific automation, client lock-in, and sort of different strategies that we are working currently with clients with. We have a lot of overseas companies contacting us in regards to, it's mainly sort of agency companies that are outsourcing talent to companies that are trying to do something, especially with AI. We are all telling them that they need to stop that. They need to start educating hardcore their people on AI. Otherwise, their entire client base is gonna fall over. So for agencies, there's basically sort of a new mode that's opening up, which is sort of the evergreen mode of AI literacy and agentic upskilling. So everyone needs to learn how to use agents. You can start, if you're technical, you need to start with Claude Code. You need to start with MCP servers. You need to start with your sub-agents. If you're not technical, then you use your Copilot Studio if you're an enterprise, or you start using these super agent platforms, BenSpark, Skyworks. There's a whole bunch of others that just came out. So basically, young people are using currently ChatGPT as operating systems, not as search engines or answering engines. And so I think everyone needs to start sort of, getting more educated about this stuff. Individual modes, career security, AI literacy should be the first. Yeah. 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 So basically, if you're a super user, right, you don't use any of these tools. You just use the terminal, and you use either Claude Code, Gemini CLI, OpenAI CLI. Sorry. So there's like CLI, which is basically like Copilot, right? So Copilot is Microsoft using the entire ecosystem of Microsoft with an AI to pull out data, right? To do basically RAG. If you're using AI cleverly, if you're becoming a super user, you're going to stop using platforms like ChatGPT, and you just open up your terminal and use Claude Code, and you drive everything, because terminal has access to everything on your computer. Therefore, using any of these tools makes no sense because they are restricted, right? You use MCP servers and you use Claude Code or any of these CLI tools. Google AI is going to be like this. Just watch that space very, very closely. Microsoft is a fantastic, fantastic company to oversee right now because Copilot is not working and it's just awful experience. And you think that because it's awful now, it's going to be awful in 2 months or 2 weeks. That's not the case, right? They're pushing out 150 new features every 3 months. So then you need to watch them very closely, especially because most corporate or just which company does not use Microsoft, right? So all companies are Microsoft shops, really. So you need to understand that following closely what they're doing and learning and riding this wave now is like super important because this wave will become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just at some stage it's going to be so overwhelming. So please watch Microsoft, watch Google, watch what they're doing, and learn as they're bringing out new updates. Learn about this stuff because it's going to be so overwhelming at some stage because they're going to bring out so much stuff. All right, cool. So AI literacy for individuals. Automation and workflow building must be number 2. This is the core skill going forward. Automation building, workflow building, because you're going to plug agents together to do work for you. You think that you're still going to type building PowerPoints and putting stuff into Excel and then writing an email, that's going to go away, right? You're going to have agents for that, and you're just controlling those agents, and you're just steering that ship, basically. That's workflow building is sort of the core skill. Number 3, agility. The faster you can learn going forward, the better. If you can't learn fast, learn how to learn fast. There's absolutely no excuse to not going forward do your best work because you have all the AI tools at your hands, at your fingertips, to help you with answering any questions, getting any knowledge. Knowledge is such that we have. So I have a philosophy, and there's a whole thing sort of happening in the AI world, which is share everything you have. Share everything you know right now. Because right now, it has value. In 2-3 years, when these systems become so good, your knowledge has no fucking value. No value. You need to share now while it brings you value. And share everything. Because right now, that will give you a little jump board to jump in front of other people, to leapfrog some stuff. If you do not share right now, it's just wasted. It's wasted because it's going to become 0, 0, nothing. Right? All right. Agility mindset, AI education, and just changing the course of what you learn, what you do, what your career is. Go to AI. Go to Grok, go to whatever. Go once a month and say, this is me, and just blah it, speak to it for like half an hour. This is me, this is how much money I make, this is what my life is currently at, this is what my parents do, this is what my current career is, this is where I want to go, yada, yada, yada. What do I need to do to improve, to make more money, to get this job, to get this career, and just see what comes back at you, right? Especially with these new models. They will tell you once a month, doing everything fucking wrong. You need to change course. Cool. Agentic literacy is obviously super important. Agents. Company building modes. So, tech stack, super important. Of course, everyone is Microsoft, so great. Start learning that. Your sort of first starting wave. It is shocking to me how many companies and how many leadership people are still like only just starting this, like, right? It is so shocking. This is so shocking. Workforce upskilling is number 2, and then AI champion building. AI champion building is fantastic because they're gonna basically drive your entire AI adoption strategy for free. You need to put a lot of effort, money, time into your champions, reward systems into your champions, because they will carry your entire organization's upskilling journey almost for free. So bringing some expertise, let them help you build those champions, and then build like a resource library and all that sort of stuff, and then have those champions, once that sort of first sort of people coming in helping your organization adopt AI, once they have gone, those champions are going to then drive the adoption. Cool. Self-improving AI obviously has just sort of started with the alpha model. We are going to see over sort of mid next year, end of this year, we're going to start seeing the rate of innovation speed up. If you think now stuff is moving fast, like it's going to move much faster, much faster. So throwaway software, for example, this is what GPT-5 is now, is really good at writing. They have made it an incredible point to write beautiful user interfaces because they want people to fall in love with that capability. And throwaway software as part of your job is going to be a core skill set going forward. That you know how to write throwaway software, and they're gonna make it so easy. All these platforms, right? We have just seen Microsoft Spring brought out Spark. So all these platforms are gonna make it super, super, super easy for you to build throwaway software to quickly help you with a problem. And so learning now with Bold, Lovable, with all these tools that exist, playing around with them now, because it's just a little bit of prompting, right? It's just some English that you need to know. You don't need to know about anything else. But you need to sort of get an idea of when to build throwaway software for what tool, application, problem that you currently have. And once you sort of get a better idea, you're gonna there won't be a problem anymore that you could go into any job almost and do that job just with throwaway software. Okay, so just quickly, timelines, sort of set that a little bit. Basic AI right now, 2025. Agent orchestration, sort of the emergence of critical professional skills, 2026, 27, because we have like 2-3 years now left before we reach a level of these AI becoming good, so good that what we need to do now is we need to help educate our leadership teams. We call it skill gap. There's going to be an emergence of a skill gap in the industry, especially in Australia, which means that I worked for ANZ Bank. Their hiring strategy is the following. If the job can be done by Vietnam, Manila, or India, job goes there. If some of the job can be done with AI, and there is still one FTE free, then we potentially may hire someone in Australia. I am speaking constantly to mainly Vietnamese, Japanese, and Philippines companies that are outsourcing, and I'm telling them, you need to become as AI savvy as possible, because you will always outrank any person in Australia because they just need to pay them more. So if you become extremely AI savvy, have an extremely AI savvy workforce, you are going to be able to always get hired by Australia, right? So we need to be even more so AI savvy here so that we can compete with these cheap countries, right? So I cannot stress how important this is. You need to breathe AI, you need to watch AI, throw everything in your YouTube, throw away and just make it AI. Kill everything in your X account and just make everything AI. X is a gold mine, a gold mine. You need to start building your own data libraries. You need to feed, so you can feed your AI assistant when it comes along. Once you have that access to that technology, you need to have a data set of you ready. Give that to the AI. Not building it then. Now you need to start. Start going on X, start going on YouTube. Anything that's interesting to you that has to do with AI, you put that into like just notes or something. And you just lock it in. And you use this later on as a data set for your AI system. Hybrid human AI teams become dominant operations. So here's the third mode that's currently just opening up. So we know that automation is something, AI automation is something all businesses need to look at. They need to look at their processes. This is what they're currently all trying to do, right? But actually what's happening right now is that all these companies are trying to make the horse-drawn carriage 3% faster by bringing in Copilot and thinking they can get, here and there, get more productivity. That is not what needs to happen. What needs to happen is that we are at 1885, and the first motor vehicle has just been invented. And we need to shift away from trying to think how to use these AI tools currently to make our staff faster, better, 10%, to we need to look at do these processes that these staff currently do, this type of work that these staffs are doing, does this still make sense? Or can we rewrite this entire job spec? Can we rewrite the entire processes that exist that these staff, these professionals are touching, and then basically bring that sort of in the 1885 motor vehicle type era, okay? So it's not about saving money as in a business right now. It is about reinventing. This is a transformational time, and we are unfortunately, we are the transformation generation. This will be a very tumultuous time, especially so from 3 years onwards. And Trump, I don't want to say, that China is definitely going to win the AI race because they have more power than the US, right? And their talent pool is ridiculous. It's like 3 times bigger than the US. They have more talented, smart children than the entire children of the US. They will win, okay? Their shipbuilding capacity, their energy producing capacity to quickly build more energy, which is the only thing that matters going forward, because these data centers need an enormous amount of energy. And that's the only thing that's going to matter, because AI is the only and last tool we're ever going to build, because then these AI tools are going to build their next tools themselves. So this is like the only thing that matters right now. China will win. They may not get to AGI first, but because they can just outpower US, right? If they keep going at the current rates, they will definitely win. Cool, all right, so. Yeah.
On this one. So for people that have been to these meetups before, we pride ourselves on what we call productionizing AI. And I think Joe's 3 moats really demonstrate this, because if you have a look at his first moat, this is the stuff everyone's doing at the moment, right? This is all the copilots, the ad hoc stuff. You can't really trust this, and you can't really integrate it. When you move into his second moat, what we're saying is to get into sort of, the SME space or to get into the enterprise space, you need a level of control, and the control that he's pointing out here is human in the loop type of control. So what you do is you have skills, so you're moving from, just prompting to skills that are actually essentially enabling you to quality control the AI output. And then his third moat is orchestration, which is what we talk in this conference, in this meetup about, which is all the agentic stuff. And of course, you need workflows, you need a whole stack of stuff to get that right. So I think there's some good overlaps with what the moats that you've identified, Joe, and some of the things that we talk about here as well.
Yeah. All right, next 5 years. The best job to have right now, besides being like a plumber or something like that, is like bioengineering. If you had that brain now still to make that switch, make that switch. Make that switch because that job is safe. Because we are in Australia and everything is slow here, and everything is going to take forever, and like we are not building enough data center here. Like Australia is going to be insanely behind. So therefore, us as workforce, we need to be like the most, which is, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we need to be the most educated workforce out there. We won't be able to compete with the cheap countries. We won't be able to compete with what's happening in China. So adaptive learning systems, you're building your own AI tutor, use the new function from OpenAI, learn easy thing, use your notebook LM, use your Google AI Studio or something. Start using super agent platforms, GenSpark, Skyworks AI. There's a whole bunch of them. So quickly, a super agent platform is a platform that does more than just a chatbot, right? They do slides, they do Excel sheets, they do calls, they do videos, they do like all this sort of stuff. Just start building agents in any shape or form. If it's just the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat agent, even if you just do that and see how you combine the different agents, like just get that into your brain, how you can start combining stuff to get better output, to get more work done. That's like a first step. Start building with agents. Call to action over Spark. AI era isn't survival. It's not survival of the fittest. It's survival of the fastest learners. So this is probably what I want to sort of end with. Is fast learning is probably the most important skill going forward. Thank you.
Me. I want to add something to that. Last week I was invited by Microsoft to an event where they had 80 people, I think, in the room, and varied, government and private industry. And it was a Copilot studio. It was teaching people how to do AI agents through Copilot Studio. It was just a day in the city, right? And what was interesting was they asked people to raise their hand on whether or not their company had an AI strategy. No one put their hand up, not a single person, right? And you had some pretty decent companies in that room, right? So that's how sad things are at the moment. And if they do have a strategy, then people don't know it as well, which could be the other thing, right? Also pretty sad. Mind you, I didn't put my hand up at all for anything because my company is way behind. We hired a guy from South Africa to come and tell us what AI was. I laughed. Anyway, so our second speaker is going to talk about a particular product that they've created. So I'm going to ask Ryan to come up. Now, Ryan he used to do some security and network engineering, but he now works in AI and with schools. So Ryan's going to talk to us about MarkerMate AI. We need 2 of these.
All good. It's all good. Hey guys, thanks for coming. Hi Europe. Thanks for having me. Thing is smaller. There we go. All right. Hi. Thanks for coming, guys. So I'm here to talk about what I built. It's called MarkerMate. I'm really excited with what I did, and yeah, I'm excited to show you what I've done. So yeah, just to touch on a little bit about me. So I was a security engineer at NTT. Not sure how many of you guys know NTT. They've got in Collins Place, it's the giant building there. They've got the little symbol out the front. I worked there for about 5 years, but about so I would say January 2023, I had a question that I asked all my friends about, and they said they don't know, but they should check with ChatGPT. And I'd heard about ChatGPT at the time. I thought it was something for coders, and I thought to myself, I'm not a coder, so I'm not going to worry about it. So I put my question in, and of course, sure enough, it gave me the exact answer that I wanted. And then from there, it was this moment of just very much understanding that like this is the future. And I think anyone that's building the future is going to use this technology. So I didn't know where I stood in this world. I just knew I had to be in it. Just from there, I kind of quit the whole corporate world, and I kind of started to do a few things. The first thing I did is I started working with some AI stuff. I've collaborated with a few small and medium-sized business to work with their AI maturity. I built a couple of automations for them. By myself, I try to build my own AI automation at least once a month. Probably one of my favorite ones I built was for car dealerships. And basically how it worked is if you went to, say, Auto Trader or car sales and you found a car you liked, you put your details in. What my bot would do, it would scan those details, and then it would take it to the dealership, and basically it would be an AI chatbot via SMS, and it would just go back and forth with the intention of trying to get you into the dealership. It worked really well. So it was funny. So the way I built it is I kind of prompted the AI engineer to basically say, you know, be friendly, be kind, but at the end of the day, your only job is to get him in for the dealership to come in for a test drive. So, you know, I used to have a lot of fun with it. I used to kind of test it and give it little questions. And my favorite was one time I asked it what the meaning of life was, and it said, I don't know what the meaning of life is. I just know life's a whole lot better in a Kia Sorado. How about you come 5 o'clock Friday? I was like, all right, it's good, it works. And then, you know, outside of there, I kind of, you know, for the flexibility and honestly, because I really like it, I started working as a school tech. And, you know, I like to say, you know, I'm just a school tech, building cool tech. And it kind of gave me this idea just being around teachers. So really, I just feel it's a point that's been made many times. Teachers are overworked. They get employed for about 38 hours a week, but they tend to work 50 to 55 hours a week. And of those 55 hours, about 21 to 25 hours are actually with students. And to me, I think that's the worst part, because when I think about the good teachers in my life, you know, they're the ones that were present, that were there, that were willing to help you when you needed help, not the ones that were really good at marking grades. So, and speaking of which, I looked it up. Teachers spend up to 7 hours a week grading papers, and 95% of those teachers claim that they bring that homework home. I would honestly say the number's higher than 95%, because I'm yet to meet a teacher that doesn't bring the grading home. So that's why I came up with MarkerMate. The way it basically works is it can grade any high school paper from year 7 to year 12. It translates handwritten text into readable text. It can grade up to 30 essays at once, and it also gives feedback to the students once it grades. So the way it works, and I'll show you guys, I brought my laptop along, so if you guys want to come up after and see it actually in action, I can do that for you. So the idea is the first thing the teacher would do would be to add the rubric. For those who don't know what a rubric is, it's just the basic marking system of an English essay. What my system does, an AI agent takes it, turns it into a JSON file, and basically breaks it down. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of very light there. But it actually breaks down each marks and how many points for each one. If that's right, you can go confirm it, which brings you on to the second part, which is a second AI agent once you put the kids' papers in, which, you know, one of the real important things was I wanted to get it to understand handwriting. I just feel like there's a different translation. And also with text, you can kind of do this stuff already. So it can take the handwritten papers, once you translate it, it takes those handwritten notes into actually readable text. And something I learned along the way is AI, I kind of look at what is AI better at? And one of the big things AI is better at is actually deciphering illegible text. It is funny. I think we all, I love this quote where it's like you grow up to become the adult that your child, like you needed as a child. And I had terrible handwriting and I was terrible at English. So I think this is kind of like where the idea came from. And then just from there, you can grade the papers. And then, once you grade the papers, a third agent comes in and combines the rubric or bases a rubric based on what the handwritten text has said, and then just gives a mark. And then from there, there's an actual results page which the teacher can come in. If anything's wrong, they can adjust it any way which like. We've had some really good results with it. I've just been showing around the schools that I work at. We tend to get between 1 or 2 marks, very, very close to it. It's not perfect just yet. It does take about 2 minutes right now to actually get it from start to finish. So the idea would be speed, because I think that's important. 2 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, and you can compare it to, say, 7 hours a week grading papers. But, I think we're so used to things happening instantly that we can notice the difference. So I've got a few future ideas for how I want to build this stuff. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. So big thing for that's actually a really good question. They can take photos of it. A big thing for me, and the reason, so I was kind of choosing which API, so that's say the OpenAI or Claude. A big thing is Claude can handle PDFs, their API, whereas OpenAI can't. And the idea in my head is like kind of the final, like my final goal for it all, is that a teacher would be able to take all 30 essays and just scan it all at once. And what my AI program would do would just kind of split each one. And that way it's just a real simple process for them. And yeah, so that was really important to me. But yeah, to answer your question, any way you can get that file onto the system, it can pretty much do it. So I do want to actually expand out into other subjects as well. Question and answer stuff would be pretty straightforward. I want to start with English just basically because I think it's the most opinionated and it's the most subjective of all the subjects. It also just seemed like a fun challenge at the time. The one I still can't work out, and I guess there's a great room to do it, is I'm not too sure how I do maths questions, just because it can, especially like more complex maths, because you get graded on how you go about the working out, and I wouldn't know how to combine that. So if anyone's got any ideas, let me know, because you got an idea? Yeah, how would you do it? But like with the handwriting? Because this is the part, because I think about my maths test, and it's like some of my working out started here, and then it would go up here, and it'd go down here. I don't know, would it be able to trace exactly where I was going? Okay. All right, I might talk to you about that after this, because yeah, in my head, I can't work it out. Anyone got access? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but can it break it down into a point of like, because it's it's kind of marking something that's subjective with the working out and stuff. And so like that would be my question, is it like, how would it go about doing that from one step to the other? Like would there have to be a criteria put into it? Yeah. Yeah. One day I'm going to get it, right? One day we'll work it out, but maybe that's the secret. Like this stuff moves very fast, and yeah, maybe that's I haven't had much chance to put this stuff with GPT-5, so maybe I'll give that a go and see how I go. But yeah, as I was saying with your future stuff, yeah, one of the big things, and I thought this would be a really good use for it, is to open the access to students and just give them the opportunity to kind of write their essays and get instant feedback from. Because, you know, for me, and I remember writing essays in high school when I did them, and it would take a week before, you know, you'd hear anything left. And by that point, you kind of already forgot where your head was at. So I think that could be a really handy way. And just on top of that, I think it would be good for teachers to be able to add their own input on it too. I thought about the idea of actually giving students almost a chatbot, right? And the idea would be like it just go back and forth with the chatbot to try to work out, you know, how's the best way to do this. So a big thing I kind of wanted to break down in this project, kind of the things I used. More importantly, like things that I used that didn't work, because I think there's usefulness to them. I love it. I put the Thomas Edison quote here. It's like, I've not failed, I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And honestly, this page could be filled with 100 different AI applications that I tried and failed with. But I really like these ones because I think there's merit in all of them. The first one's no code. I'm pretty slick with the no code, low code type stuff. I feel there's pretty much any company in, you know, any big company could have something, or essentially, I think if you're good with the no code stuff and you know how to find pain points, I think every company could save millions, every big company, just because there's so many little admin tasks out there that can be automated now. People just don't know about it. So for me, a big no-code tool, I use several of them, but my favorite's probably Make over, say, N8N or Zapier. And it's honestly, it's just because it looks the nicest, right? If you're going to be staring at a screen for 12 hours, you might as well make it look nice. Secondly, Lovable. I think Lovable's great. There's probably someone here who, you know, kind of came in and said, you know, I know my world's about to change with AI, but I really don't know what to do or where to start. And for those people, I think it's Lovable because it's so simple. It's just, it's plain English. And it's kind of the first kind of instance of, you know, vibe coding. And, you know, I've actually showed Lovable to a couple of teachers who've built things for students. I had one teacher who built something really cool. So he's doing about the draft in the war. And so what he built on Lovable was just simply, it's like you put the dates in and it would do the ballot, and then all the names would come out. So all the kids kind of saw their name be up on the ballot. And he built that. Lovable has when you use it, you can use up to 5 free prompts. And it's always a fun challenge to try to build something within those 5 prompts. So yeah, anyone that hasn't had much work with it, I think start with Lovable. Next up, I wanted to put custom GPT. Does anyone use custom GPTs here? What's your custom GPT? Yeah. 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 Well, that's the thing, because most people don't, like, you guys know what custom GPTs are for the most part? Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of one of the first iterations of all this, is like one of the first things, and I thought that was going to change the world when it came out, and it was just a whole lot of nothing. But I decided to put this for my project. And the funny thing is, it worked really well the first time, which kind of really pissed me off because it only took about 20 minutes. But fortunately or unfortunately, it's very limited from there. You know, you kind of put something in and you can kind of tweak a little bit here and there, but it's ChatGPT. There's not much you can do for it. But I think it's really good if, like the idea that I kind of came up with in my head when the best to use this is, like, let's say you come into work and you have to do something that you're not really used to doing. I think it's a really good idea to just kind of create a custom GPT for it, because it takes 20 minutes of your day and could save you hours. And finally, Claude Code. So whenever I see Claude Code, I don't know how many NBA basketball fans there are out there, but back in '86, so game 2 of the NBA finals, the Celtics versus the Bulls, and at the time, Larry Bird was the man. Like, he was the greatest player. No one could stop Larry Bird. But there was this young guy called Michael Jordan that came in, and he destroyed that game. He scored 63 points. And Larry Bird, he'd never seen anything like that. He was so bewildered by it. And they pulled him in afterwards, and they're like, what happened? How did this young guy score so many points? And he's like, that wasn't Michael Jordan. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. And I kind of feel the same way about Claude Code. Is like the first time I was so bewildered by what it can do, and I was just like, this doesn't feel like coding software. It feels like God disguised as coding software. Yeah, it's just honestly, it's really amazing. I don't know what the technical level of everyone is in here, but I think if you can get the CLI right, I think you can learn. Yeah, you can do. Yeah, honestly, you can do so much with it. Yeah, it's. I think the best way to describe it is. I think they did an ELO. Someone can fact check this for me. But I think Claude became the 40th best coder in the world, somewhere along that line, based on ELO. So Claude Code is essentially like having the 40th best coder in the world do all your work for you. It's the fact that we have this and not everyone's using it is insane. So I kind of have an idea of like releasing this to the public. I don't know how many of you guys know Teachers, but my release date, I was thinking about November 10th, and there is some strategy behind it. That's the week after Melbourne Cup, so it's just before like things start heating up, but teachers are probably thinking to themselves, oh, I'll get it all done over the long weekend, and then don't. So it's a perfect opportunity for me to kind of come in and say, hey, this stuff can speed things up. And yeah, if you guys kind of want to keep up to date with what's doing, or even what I'm doing, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm relatively frequent on there. There's a bunch of Ryan Sinnott's, and I'm trying to get to the top. So the more, if you want to just like type my name in, that includes you guys in Europe too. I know there's a guy in Europe, Ryan Sinnott. We have a group chat. So yeah, if you guys can start adding me too, that'd be really great. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Yes. No, when you say fine tuning, like there's a specific prompt given to it, but I'm not like fine tuning it as in putting in data. There is the thought of actually putting in like good teachers' information, like how they grade it and how they go about it, but that might be somewhere down the line. Right now, I'm just trying to get it as efficient and as close to it as I can. And no, so it doesn't. So yes, and then I've just kind of basically, it's like especially specific prompts and using like system prompts and then assistant prompts and user prompts. So the assistant prompt would be like, for example, I guess the best example of it would be the last agent, because that's the one that's the simplest. It's just basically, you are an English teacher grading, and then based on what year level, year 7 English, I want you to grade this paper based on XYZ, here is the paper, here is the rubric, and that's basically how it's done. Yes, exactly. Any other questions? Yep. So my technology stack, I use, as in like what I use to. Yeah. So it's a bunch of a lot of it's JSON codes, a lot of it's GitHub code, a lot of it's here's the thing about Claude Code is it's written about 20,000 lines of code for me. I understand about 3 of those lines, but no, yeah. Yeah, I'm working. I think there's going to be a time when I have to kind of backtrack everything and work this all out, but that time's later. Yeah, someday. And sorry, what was your second question? So I used Claude, and that was it started with OpenAI. That was kind of my first idea, but it was just simply Claude can read PDFs. OpenAI couldn't, as far as the API. Yeah. Anyone else? Is it? I'll move around, like now that, because I kind of built this, and then this week was like, I didn't want to play with it too much and come here and then everything not work. So yeah, that's kind of like my idea from here on out is kind of to look at the Nano Claude 4.1 and just see how good I can get this, how close I can get to an actual teacher. Do you know anyone? Yes, I do. You do actually? You can, if you want. Yeah, if you know some people there. You know, I got this idea of. Sorry, if you want to say something. No. Yeah. Yeah, or one of my ideas, and one of the places I think this would be perfect is VC grading, right? Is like you'd have an actual, because they kind of grade it twice, right? The first person grades it, and then someone can tell me if I'm wrong, and then a second person grades it and they make sure it's the same. I just figured it'd get rid of that second person, right? Someone would grade it, the AI would grade it. If it's kind of matching up, then perfect. If not, then there'd be a third grader. Yeah. One more question. I mean, yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there is, yeah, that's true. So there's two things. One is like any testing I've done so far, removed any personal information. Secondly, there is the option, and I've thought about this, of actually building the LLMs in shop. Just this, right now, schools aren't built for that. You know, I'm around the infrastructure all the time. I think that's a very key point in the future that we should look for, you know, watching that out. But for the moment, I think the best course of action is to leave student, you know, any important student details, just leave it out of the system. But we'll go from there. Yeah.
Sorry, I might have to just wrap it up because we're going to run. Yeah. Okay, so just a couple of things. First of all, Ryan, congratulations. So Ryan's been on board our meetup since we started, and it's just, I remember being at the pub with you, and you used to say, George, you know, like, you know, I just need to do something else, and, you know, there's got to be something I can do with AI. And to see you kind of, you know, take your idea, run with it, actually implement it, congratulations. It's, you know, that's what this is all about, right? You know, just giving people the inspiration to do what they need to do. So good on you. Excellent. All right, I'm going to hand back to Anne. And no, you. Yeah, no, I'll hand to you.
Jesus, he's given it to me for what? See me later. I've got a couple of people who are doing projects at the moment at the Department of Education, which are going nowhere, but anyway. Okay, I'm hoping that we can do this presenter and then do a really quick follow-up with a previous presenter, just to find out where he's at. So our last presenter is a software entrepreneur. He's a GPU specialist. He's worked on some interesting stuff. Google Glass, and consults with software and hardware houses in China. So it's a pleasure to introduce Julian.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Do you hear me? Yeah. Thanks. Well, my name is Julian Beltran. I'm an entrepreneur and software engineer. I like to always create companies. I've been probably in the 4 continents. My last continent is Oceania, Australia. And today I'm going to introduce to pre-chat. I know it's a bit late, so I'm going to try to be fast, but well, to also be interactive, because this is more like a demo to show some capabilities that we can do today that I didn't even think that we can do that 1 year ago. Okay, so myself, I work with Google. Remember the Google Glass project? This is me 10 years ago. I was a bit more fatty because I was on my hamburger diet. But one of the things I was doing, the live streaming of the Google Glass. So for that, in a very small GPU, we had to optimize the algorithms to be super efficient for a hardware that only consumes like 2 watts of energy to do live streaming in a device that also have only 500 milliamperes of battery. After that, I moved to South China in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, where I was in connection with hardware companies. For example, Lenovo wants to do the orange smart glasses. I also work in 360 cameras. Then I moved to algorithm trading, where we need to have some hardware with low latency and that kind of stuff. And then, well, in COVID, my wife is Australian, so we moved here. And when I arrived, I didn't know what to do. So, but a friend of mine that I met in one of these events told me that there's a way to get free electricity in Australia during COVID. by green energy, because at that time the demand for energy was so low that there was a way to get it for free. So I thought like, okay, let's create a data center full of GPUs just to mine Ethereum. And at that time it was profitable until it wasn't not. But well, I learned a lot. And then when it stopped being profitable, I thought like, okay, what am I gonna do now with these GPUs? And when I was start to sell them, suddenly ChatGPT was released and everybody wants GPUs back because, well, you can run LLM models, so start thinking about how to repurpose all these GPUs. And then, well, my idea is to create pre-chat. I'm gonna be very fast from here. So my idea is to have your own models in Australia or at your office or at home, okay? Nothing leaves your Australia or your home or your office. That's the idea, because I start to be concerned about what other people in other countries are using with your data, right? We don't really know. I've been in Silicon Valley. Yeah, everyone thinks that they protect our privacy, but my experience is that's what they say in public, but in private, they don't work like that way. So I think it's important, and that's why I created a platform where, or either you want to have a login of a ChatGPT that everything runs here, or you have a platform that you can have in your office and ask your own questions without leaving. 1 year ago, we can even think about this, but thanks to the open source models, especially the OpenAI model, open source model that was launched last week, with very cheap hardware, you can run it. It's totally possible, okay? So one of the things I did is also, okay, how you can have these models at home. So one of the things I did is start traveling back to Shenzhen and start talking to some manufacturers to look for ideas about a cheap, affordable device you can have. So this is a small computer. It's a special. It's a prototype of an AMD chip that has CPU, GPU, and NPU in the same chip. Okay, that makes it very efficient. Also, even the memory is solid in the main board. So it means that the bandwidth is higher than any other models. One of the problems the NVIDIA chips has is because they want to sell you the server products that cost like $20,000 US, because the NVIDIA 4090 that you can buy around $3,000 only had 24 gigs of RAM. Adding more RAM to that chip is not really that expensive, but what NVIDIA wants to do is, well, you want an 80 instead of 24, okay, so you're gonna pay like 4 or 5 times more. So this device, one of the things that does is they have the same, the CPU and the GPU has the same memory, okay? And they have a hybrid system where you can run as much large models as you want, okay? So this device is gonna be soon a quick starter. And one of the things you can do, and it's very important, is you can run up to 120 billion model on this device. So even there's a third world war and they decide to cut the submarine cables in Australia, you can have most of the medical knowledge in this small device, okay? And you can start asking questions like engineering or medicine or whatever you want without access to internet. Actually, one of the demos I'm gonna do is disconnect this device from internet and see how it works, okay? So it has the Ryzen 8 Max 395, 128 gigs of unified memory, so you can really run large models. And even you don't want to run a very big model, what you can do is maybe run Qwen 3. That's quite a really nice model with the speech-to-text, text-to-speech, and embeddings without leaving without going to internet for external information. Okay. It's great for developers that they want to run code in their own computer without leaving your home, or professionals, I'm thinking lawyers, doctors, but also law enforcement or research, or any company that has sensible data and they need to run everything inside. I mean, 1 year ago, the best models, you need a very expensive hardware, or probably you need to even go to the cloud. Nowadays, with $3,000 or maybe $10,000 with all the kind of hardware, you can run models that are as good as 6 months old models. So that's a great difference. Okay, so gonna do demo time now. Could you please switch? Yeah. Okay. Oops. No worries. No worries. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm using Windows. On Linux, we can have like 10 or 15% more performance. But Windows, I think, is more universal and everybody understands it, so I'm gonna run everything in Windows. But just to let you know, we can sell like air-gapped systems on Linux that has just an API endpoint or just a website that can serve the whole organization. Okay. So I'm gonna start first unloading some of the models. I'm gonna run one of the most famous tools called LM Studio. Okay. First, I'm gonna start with the easy one, probably MedGemma. MedGemma is like a special version of GEMMA 3. GEMMA 3 is probably the best LLM model that Google offers for free, open source. It's modified in a way that it'll add more knowledge about medicine and remove some other things like history that probably you, a doctor, wouldn't need, right? So if we made some adjustments, okay, load a model. Will take some time to load. You can see the RAM memory. Okay. But not only have the CPU and GPU, also have an NPU for special tasks related with AI, especially text-to-speech. Here we can see how is loading memory. Okay, you only load 31 gigabytes of RAM. Model is 27 billion. Okay, so I'm gonna send like an X-ray example, this one, and ask a question about this array. What? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I need to disable Wi-Fi first. Show that we're not using internet at all. Okay, no internet. Can even ping Google. Okay, nothing. Okay, what you can see in this picture. Okay. So nose is an X-ray, and they can see some problems on the lungs. Okay, this X-ray is from a cancer. So it's not going to say it's cancer, but it's going to give you the tips that, the conclusions that is. Okay, it's running quite fast, around 20 tokens per second. And I think it's good enough because I saw many doctors that start using ChatGPT. And well, in some ways, I think it's good. But another way is like, well, but you submitted all my personal information. Like, where is the HIPAA compliant? Where is the GDPR? Where is the local laws of privacy? So now everybody, I mean, an American company is going to know all my medical history. I have no problem yet, but eventually. And any other things over a single aspect of you. So that's why I think this could be very important for lawyers, doctors, and other professionals that need to take care of that. Okay? Yeah. Yes, with embeddings. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can, with more time, I can do a demo, but yeah, you can do. You can do PDFs, Word documents, markdowns, images, videos. Okay. Yeah, depends on the model, because, for example, on the list of models, the biggest model is the OpenAI, the 120 billion, okay? But different models have different capabilities. For example, when 2.5 BL, it can do images. So you can upload an image. And I think GEMMA supports PDFs as well, right? But if the model doesn't support content, you can use the embeddings. Embeddings is a system where you upload multimedia content, any kind of content, it creates a vectorized file that is very easy for a text model to read, okay? Now I'm gonna try to load, it's gonna take some time, so I think it's a good opportunity to do questions, because this is the 120 model, 120 billion, and it's gonna take some time, but yeah, you can see meanwhile how much memory is using. Let me show, yeah, start loading. Any questions before it loads? You see me? So my idea is to sell the hardware, but if you don't want to buy, I'm going to have some endpoints in Australia for running these models here, right? And I will sign an NDA saying I'm not going to log anything you do, right? No, I tried directly the 120. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah. A year ago, probably great, but now you can run the 120 billion. And with a good performance, you will see. Excuse me? It was a prototype we need to send to the factory. That's why we're doing a Kickstarter, so to have the pre-sales first and then pay the factory. We're hoping to do 1,000. Enough capacity? We're building it now, so it will start increasing as we have demand. Yeah. Okay, I think it's low. Yeah. Okay. So only 20 billion. It's running quite fast. And this is a model as good as GPT 4o mini. Okay? At your home, at your office, without any information leaving. And okay, I'm going to stop now. Already know. 24 tokens per second. I think it's quite decent speed. Not only you can use these computers, also the Linux version of this has a web server. So anybody in your network can connect remotely with a web interface and start asking questions and managing users. Okay. So yeah. And I'm going to do the last demo with VS Code. I have a problem because when I update it, the config disappear. But I still can try to, if I unload the model, I can run an LLM server, Win3, for example. And yeah, that's one of the ideas. All right. So if I ask, just this. $30,000, yeah. Sorry? 2 months, but I think we can do earlier, probably 1. All right, so could you switch when we finish? Oh, yeah, I can do. All right. Yes, here. So thanks, everyone. You want to have access to the hardware, not only this, even more expensive hardware, more capable, and also the web interface where you can have models running in Australia. Just really check me out. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'll grab the mic off you.
Sure.
Just stay up here for a minute.
Okay.
I'll just grab the mic off you.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so here I was thinking this was an Xbox when I came in, not realising what was here. Look, this is incredible tech, and just quickly for people that maybe are not too sort of familiar with what Julian just demonstrated, apart from the hardware, you need to understand, and I think there were some questions from the audience today, this whole thing about privacy, this whole thing about quarantining what we're doing and what we're testing so that we do not essentially take our data and essentially volunteer it to the corporates. This is obviously a solution. So this is fantastic. Yeah, so congratulations. Wish you all the best with this project. And yeah, look, it's you would have seen Julian use a lot of different tools, but if you want to try and sort of understand what he did, if you go to Hugging Face, so that's the site that has all these open source LLMs, and this is what Julian and a lot of the other guys were talking about today. The ability to not just have to rely on what we call, these corporate platforms or, these standard LLMs. There are open source equivalents. They are compressed. They're actually quantized, which is why you're able to run them. And there's just so many of them. So you can go to Hugging Face, you can download it. There are hosts, there are clients, and that's what Julian is now loading onto his hardware. So it's fantastic. That's just super impressive. Okay, we have maybe 5 more minutes. I want to call up David Galtieri. So for people that were with us at the last meetup, David got up and spoke about this really nice tech that he's putting together. It's Depth Node is the product that he's been working on. He's just released an alpha. And I must say, I've been very impressed. So I'm actually using it myself in a corporate environment. So David, just if you could come up, maybe in 5 minutes, just let us know how it's all going, how the alpha's going. If there's any support you need from anybody, please let us know as well.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to Anne and George and the team for having me do this very quick update. I was trying to go and give a lot more value, but my value is now down to 5 minutes. So I'm going to skip past the slides I had. Oh, look, I've got to just show you this one. So when I spoke last June 3, OpenAI had said that they had 600 million users. This is a diffusion of innovation curve. We're now at 700 million users, and the curve stands right. So we're heading for 1 billion users early next year. I reckon it's going to be more than that. Ryan, you just need to buy all the boxes from him and give it to each of the schools, and then you're set. No privacy issues. You're done. Quick thing, I'm just going to let your brain focus on these things very quickly. This is OpenRouter. If you want to try any of these models and you don't want to set up your own thing, just have a look at OpenRouter. You can use all, like the latest open source models are out there right now, and you can try them out. And it's just, for $5 on OpenRouter, you can use all these models simultaneously, get the responses straight away, and it'll probably cost you 10 cents to use any of these models. What this shows you is that Claude Sonnet 4 from an API perspective is still the top at 2.3 trillion tokens processed just in the last 14 days. Gemini, and you can see OpenAI is actually not even on that list. And the reason is because most OpenAI users, most enterprise have developed their API directly with OpenAI, and everybody else is using this. The market share for tokens is as follows, with Google still at the top, and OpenAI does appear at number 4. So again, you can go to OpenRouter whatever it is and have a look at their rankings. Okay, I want you all to have a look at the new GPT-5 canvas mode. This is insane. Just go and say, create me a clone of Facebook.com or create me a clone of Gitbook.com. And I did Gitbook.com because I was looking for somewhere to put all my online resources. It thought for 15 seconds. It actually took about 30 seconds to write the code. You click run in canvas mode, and I had this running. Blew me away. Even a search that works, like as I type, it's finding stuff. And it even told me what I need to do to run a back end. Next is the codex, the OpenAI codex. So one of the updates that I had for you today since our launch is that we've been working on live two-way chat. And I developed this using canvas mode, so live voice two-way chat. And I threw it into the codex and I said, find me one bug and fix it. A week after I had finished writing it, it came back and said, oh, the API that you're using has just been updated, so I've fixed that for you. I've updated the GitHub, and you can just pull it in your command line interface and run it. And it just blew me away because it actually found the bug, it fixed it, it created a pull request for me, it uploaded it, I get into my command line, my bash terminal, download the latest model, download the latest project, and it ran, and it's just like, whew. So the GitHub Codex is an agentic coding platform. It's now available from June 3 to anybody who has a OpenAI Plus. Before that, you need to have the $200 a month. This is brilliant. We mentioned about we are now right time for AI. You must talk to your customers, your clients, be an agent for AI. Especially in Australia, being so far behind, this is the time now to make sure that organisations are getting into AI. So the opportunity that I saw in Australia is that we needed a way to introduce AI to organisations, and one of the reasons I created DepthNode AI was simply to allow users, give users a platform where they can create, train, and custom train their own AI conversational chat assistant. I don't like the word chatbot, but that's what everybody uses. So create and train a custom chatbot. It's a great way for organisations who are an agency to actually introduce AI to other companies. So we launched in July the alpha of our latest release, and it was a great response that I had from the people here in the room that night to become part of our alpha testing group. So the update is that we've got a heap of new releases coming out soon. George has actually created a chatbot for his Evoke AI website, and I was testing it for him, and it works really good, so that's fantastic. We've got a few other clients coming on board, but if you'd like to be part of our alpha test program, please go to depthnode.ai or scan the QR code, it'll take you there. You'll get free, full access of our service while we're in this mode, and it's been an absolute roller coaster ride. Lots of late nights. My wife keeps telling me, "You can't keep doing this, David." But hey, what's the difference whether I go to bed at midnight or 2:30 a.m.? It doesn't really matter. You know, it's leadership from the bottom up. So I've got to make sure that when my dev team, who's in Australia, who doesn't go to bed until 3 a.m., is sending me a message on Discord, I'm there to reply. So yeah, see, I'm just as tough as you guys. Right. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for your support. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Oh my God. So, jam-packed evening. I hope you all enjoyed yourself. All of the speakers will be available after we wrap up for tonight. Two things I want to mention. Next meetup, 18th of September. So make sure you mark that in your calendars. And we're planning something a little different for the next meetup. I've given George a challenge. Let's see if he comes through. Thank you, everybody. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Anne. Look, thank you, everyone, for attending. That was jam-packed. There was a lot going on in those last 2 hours. So thank you to all of our speakers, Julian, Ryan, Joe. Very, very insightful. Look, I hope that all this stuff doesn't scare you. It just inspires you. You know, you're in a friendly sort of environment here, so we all sort of go to the pub now and have a bit of a meal and a drink, and we can continue talking. But big thanks over here to Samuel and Bo. Once again, thank you for your incredible work getting us. We're going to have some more microphones for the next one. I hope to see you all again. We've got the next date planned. I don't know what this surprise that I'm doing is, but I'm sure we'll work it out. Look, please spread the word, what we do, what we're about. Please like us on our meetup. Yeah, look, we intend to keep rolling with this, and it's incredible from my point of view to sit here and just see, because you know what, maybe I've got to eat my words. Like here I am saying we're behind, but from what I've heard today, this is crazy stuff going on here. So maybe I shouldn't be so critical. So a little note for myself. But no, fantastic work, and it's great that we inspire each other like that. So have a pleasant evening. Please feel free to join us. Where do we go? Tap 831? Yeah, it's down Burke Street. We're going to carry on, so you're very welcome to join us. Thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.